Hi everyone and welcome to my video about the bishop e3 and bishop d3 system. This system occurs after the moves bishop e3, a6, but here white plays by no means the most aggressive or ambitious moves such as queen d2 or queen f3, which we will get later too. In fact, he plays bishop d3, which is just a normal move trying to develop another piece and a bit of a childish system really. It doesn't promise white anything special in pretty much all the lines. One of the most common ways to play against it is knight f6 castles followed by knight takes d4 and bishop c5, which is very much in the style of what we just saw against the g3 system. Although there black equalizes with even more ease. So that's something you can definitely play. However, in this video I'm going to suggest the move b5 as I think it gives a bit more interesting play. One of the nice memories I have about this system is I played it myself when I was still really a child. I was 12 or 13 years old and obviously didn't know too much about chess theory or how to approach Sicilians as white. Later on I got better at that, but this was my first opening against the Taimanov, and I remember I was inspired by a game of Magnus that I just wanted to show you very briefly. It's a bit of a history of the line. 95 is one of the main moves, it still is. I saw some recent games with it. It's another option that you can look into, but really I don't think you should spend too much time on this line. It's not very popular and it's not very important from a theoretical point of view. But anyway, after 95 h3, as a child I would always hope to see the following moves happening. King h1, d6, f4, so black play his knights to g6, and then he's planning to play b5, bishop b7 with pretty harmonious development as, as white may struggle to create much of an attack on the king side. And what would happen here is in my games after queen e1, black would play all sorts of moves like bishop d7 or b5, and I would always try to get the same idea going, which I saw in a game of Magnus from I think 2006 or something like that, in a rapid game against Vachier Lagrave, who's also a top player now. They were both a bit younger back then. They were not yet the world elite, but still very good grandmasters. And what happened in that game was short castle f5, 95, queen h4. So you can already see some sort of attack is starting to build up there, but it's quite hard for white to do something here. But Magnus had this really nice idea that impressed me so much back in those days, which was this move rook f3. Which I still find very pretty now that I look at it again. I just looked it up before shooting the video, so it's a bit of a sentimental thing. After knight takes f3, g takes f3, white plans to put the rook on g1 and try to mate the black king. And I think I'm not sure if he won the game, but it was definitely something that was published in some magazines and that got some attention back then. So that's just kind of a sweet memory I wanted to share with you guys. Of the Taimanov, how I used to play it as white. Anyway, let's get down to business and play b5 as black, which is a bit of a new move really. I saw this for the first time in a game of Wesley So against Vachier Lagrave in Reykjavik. I think it was 2013. The idea is really just to play bishop b7 and get your development going. But it's a bit more interesting as it doesn't necessarily black doesn't necessarily try to change off many pieces, such as you saw with knight takes d4 and bishop c5, where that is the case. So here white has a few options. In case he goes knight takes c6, you can play queen takes c6. And I believe the idea should be that if white goes e5, you have bishop b7 with a mating threat. After that you can pretty comfortably go knight d5, or even think about b4, which is a typical counterattack we've seen a couple of times by now. So e5 is not really an option for white, not something that people are playing anyway. So here f3 would be one of the moves, but I already like the idea of playing bishop c5 now a little bit more, because we're going to recapture with a check on c5, and after that we can follow up with d6 and, for example, bishop d7 and short castle with a very healthy position where I think you still have all the chances to outplay your opponent, which is really what it's all about when you're facing systems that are a bit harmless, I think. So here, for example, after queen e1, d6, this was a game of, let me check actually, it's a game of Hammer against Andreikin in 2009, and I think this is just a typical Sicilian position where as black you should feel pretty comfortable because there are several ideas that you can play with. You might put the rook to d8, the bishop to b7 and the rook to c8, and then you can think about pushing these pawns. And I tend to think that these positions are a bit easier for black. As soon as white goes knight e2, you can always consider playing e5 and then with the idea of d5. So just a nice position that is not always possible to get from the opening. As we saw, white has many dangerous lines, and this is definitely not one of them. To go back to the position after b5, another move would be king h1, after which you can play bishop b7, and here after knight takes c6, queen takes c6. All recaptures are really possible, but I kind of like queen takes c6. White tends to play f3 here, which is very solid. Once again, not the most ambitious strategy, but white is doing alright, and he's just trying to play a game. One idea I wanted to give you is something that we haven't really seen before, which is playing bishop d6 in this position, which is sort of a rare thing in the Taimanov, although there are several lines where you might have this option, and sometimes it's a really good move. Especially here, since white has made it pretty clear that he has no intention of playing something like f4, e5. The bishop on d6 is feeling pretty good, having some ideas in mind to go to e5, attacking the c3 knight, and also maybe annoying white on this long diagonal in the long run. So that's a nice move, and after something like queen e1, short castle, white can try to play a4, trying to annoy these pawns a little bit, but after b4, knight e2, followed by now, for example, bishop c5, as we gained a little bit of space, and the knight is a little bit out of play. As I said, if we can go e5 in the future, white should probably not change the queens, the bishops here, so knight d4 will be a move, and then queen c7. And once again, I think what we're seeing is just a healthy position in which all results are still possible, but I think black is definitely very comfortable. So the last move I want to go through is the move queen e2 after b5. This is what Vacher Lagrave played. And after bishop b7, he played f4. And now once again, I think the circumstances are a little bit better to play knight takes d4 and bishop c5, so that's what I advise you to do. This happened in the game. And the reason that I'm showing this is because Wesley So as black, even though he's a very strong player, got into some trouble, and I just wanted to show you a quick improvement on that game. Once again, Vacher Lagrave against So, Reykjavik 2013, went bishop takes c5, queen takes c5, king h1, and now d6 was played, which is a very logical move, but it fell into the typical e5, after which the following moves happened, and white did get some initiative going. So that's not something you want to see happening to your position against such a harmless line. So instead I would go for the move b4 here. And as a sample line, after knight b1 you can simply castle. After e5 you have the comfortable knight d5, so that's not something that should worry you. And at the same time, I believe knight a4 is also nothing scary. I think even now that I look at it, I don't have it mentioned, and that's probably just because after this white seems to be in a bit of trouble with both the pawn and the knight hanging. So b4 is just a slight improvement that you might want to keep in mind, although it's also a move that you can definitely find over the board. And after knight b1 castles, if white wants to play a3 or something like that, you can even consider taking, but maybe more natural would be to play a5 and just keep your outpost with the pawn on b4. Which keeps white's queen side tied down quite nicely here. So that's really all there is to this system. I hope you guys don't mind me sharing my memories of looking at Magnus Carlsen and being inspired as a kid, but I thought that was a very nice move, and I wanted to show you guys that rook f3 move. So next on we'll be looking at the knight b5 system, which is a little bit different than what we've seen so far, so have a look at that. And then we're almost through with all the lines when it comes to the open Sicilian and the Taimanov. So I hope you watched the last videos, and then your repertoire should be complete. Thanks for watching again.